Welcome back everyone. In this video, I will follow through with David Finch's hand tutorial and do my very best to understand and replicate David Finch, but more importantly, I will explain the struggles that you will go through as you are watching a tutorial and also tips on how to actually overcome those struggles, along with all the tools that I use to help you through the process. Alright, so let's begin. I'm going to be using multiple ways of getting this done. Now, it's not necessarily exactly how David Finch or any artist goes about drawing. Why is that? It's because I'm not David Finch and neither are you. So the reason he draws certain ways is because of all the years that he has spent building his art skills, but it's not going to be the same for you or me. I mean, every single person is completely unique and different. So the way you draw compared to the way I draw or David Finch draws or anybody else is going to be completely different. Now, why am I saying this? It's because as you're watching a tutorial like this one, like a hand drawing tutorial, learning how to draw hands, you will notice that when you're trying to go line by line, slow the video down and watch it for 2 seconds and copy line by line. Sure, I'm pretty sure that you're going to get really close, but it's not going to help you actually pick up on, the understanding behind these drawings. As you can see, mine are pretty rough and ugly. And I'm also making my own notes based on where I think I need to take a note. I need to actually make notes so that it can help me remember or digest that piece of information. And in this case, everything I'm saying here, I would highly recommend that you actually go and watch his video first. That way you can see what he was really doing, what David Finch was actually doing. And then you can come back if you'd like and watch my video. That way you could see what struggles I was dealing with, and possibly you're going to run into the same problems. In some instances, I actually would... Okay, so, all right, let me just back up for a second. David Finch can literally put a few lines down and the hand drawings make sense and they look good. I can't do that yet, not even close. So instead, what I would do, I'm trying to understand the process better, is that I would watch a chunk of the video. Like, he would draw a hand, so I would watch a portion that I felt comfortable enough where I could pause and then try to replicate that. But I would add additional steps, such as using two different pencils, doing an underdrawing and overdrawing, or measuring, or thinking of the hand as more, using basic shapes before I would start drawing. And hopefully at the end of each hand that I'm copying, my drawings would actually start resembling David Finch's drawings. And I wouldn't be concerned about how ugly these drawings get, and neither should you. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because, if you're drawing something that you're comfortable with, or you have 10, 20, 30 hours or whatever, 2 weeks to tackle, then obviously that drawing is going to look a lot better because, it's all going to be pre-planned. You're going to draw it probably multiple times. So much more will go into that drawing compared to something like this where you're trying to understand how to draw hands or feet or whatever the case may be for yourself, where you actually are not good at, or should I say you don't have a deep understanding of yet. Right here, David basically mentions that when you draw hands like this, which resembles, sausages, like hot dogs cut up and put together, and that's I'm just paraphrasing. That's not what he was really saying. It's not actually a good idea because that's not how fingers really work. Like what I'm doing right now makes more sense. Again, this is what David Finch was teaching. Not this isn't something that I came up with. He was basically referring to understanding that if you look at the finger as blocks, it would make more sense, because if you could see them in blocks as you're moving your finger and your hands, you'll be able to move those blocks in perspective, or I should say space. Yeah, he was referring to thinking of soft side plus a ridge side, put them together, so soft for the bottom, ridge for the top, and that's going to help you draw better hands, basically. I mean, these are like simplified tips, but it goes a long way. Yeah, here it's just a comparison that the one on the right that I drew makes more sense. It's more natural. If you're drawing hands that are just straight up and down, just like a Lego block, I would say, yeah, that's not how it really works. So try to avoid that. Yeah, I guess the point of that last drawing is the fact that the middle knuckle always stands out. It's the highest point. Oh, here I switched my Staedtler HB2 pencil to a Prismacolor Ebony jet black. Why? Well, because I want to be able to go darker with lines without having to push down on the paper so hard, which is bad for your wrist. And I mean, it sounds kind of like, oh, whatever, not a big deal. But if you're drawing for years to come, I mean, you really want to protect your hand. That sad face is basically that drawing turned out really, really bad, even though I tried. Oh, here I'm using those knitting needles. I guess that's what it's called. Anyway, I'm using that to basically, I sketched that hand first after watching that video, David Finch's video. Paused it, sketched it, and then I used that to measure my drawing compared to what I was looking at. That's something a little more advanced, but I personally wanted to do it so that, I don't care how ugly the drawing looks. What I really care about is understanding and accuracy. When I say accuracy, I'm referring to measuring. Why? Because the more I understand these proportions, the more it's going to be ingrained in my mind, so that later on when I'm actually illustrating hands, freestyle hands, or, you know, not so much. I did that because that eraser, I was bored and I was playing with the eraser, and then it reminded me of Pango. I grew up watching Pango, so anyway, just a little distraction joke. Where was I? What was I even saying? Man, mind fart, brain fart. Yeah, there you go. Now I remember. So I was basically trying to say, I want to measure sometimes and try to understand the proportions, because later on when I'm actually making up hand drawings, the amount of reference I've taken in my head, I'll be able to draw something and know right away, oh, that doesn't really look right. Why? Because I've drawn it the right way enough times to understand hand shouldn't look like this because the measurements are off. Yeah, this is one of the tips David Finch shared, is that he prefers to use less wrinkles on your fingers for female, because that way the hand looks more feminine, I guess. I don't know if that even makes sense, but maybe it's more of a style choice. Anyway, you can go ahead and decide for yourself on that one. But I guess I understand, if you're a man and you're always doing hard labor, then you'd naturally have more of a muscular / wrinkled hand, as opposed to a girl where your hand, I guess, would be more smooth and pointy. Oh, sometimes you'll see me draw and then erase and then draw again. It's because that drawing turned out to be really bad. And I know I can try to rescue that drawing if I just remove a layer of, man, am I forgetting things today? A layer of graphite. There you go. It's a crappy thumb. Yeah, I'm starting to add some masking tape to my paper because I'm drawing at an angle and it keeps sliding off, or the paper starts curling. Yeah, so another obstacle I run into, that's just because I'm recording, is that I'm not moving the paper, I'm just moving my hands, so it makes it even trickier to draw. But in your case, if you're just drawing and you're not trying to make a video, then you can move your paper in any direction that you'd like, which would make it easier to actually draw. So if my lines are really, really hard to control sometimes, it's because of that reason. It's that I'm forced to draw at all angles without moving my paper. Yeah, so I'll just take a moment and just recap on the fact that it's okay to, watch a portion of the video, pause it, and then try to redraw it, but use your head. Don't just, I paused that for a second because that sharpener is absolutely amazing. And if you're going to use that PRISMACOLOR Ebony pencil, you're not going to be able to sharpen it using an electric sharpener. It's just going to break it. And to get it all nice and pointy and sharp without breaking it, you would need that. At least that's the sharpener that I've used, and I know it works. Anyway, any tool, anything you see on screen as it passes by quickly, just know that I've actually put it all in the description box. Yeah, like I said, going back to what I was trying to say before I got distracted again, you can just, my personal tip is just to watch a portion of the tutorial, whatever tutorial that may be, in this case, hand drawing, pause it and try to redraw it, but use your head. Think about how you would actually draw that instead of, wait, where did David Finch put a line down first? It's like you don't need to go that far, because later on when you're actually trying to draw your own stuff, you will notice a lot of this learning material that you went through didn't really stick in your head. You know what I'm saying? Like, the best way to learn is trial by fire. So, I wouldn't recommend watching the entire video and then trying to draw everything, which just doesn't make sense. But say in this case, he's drawing one hand, so watch a portion of that hand, pause it, try to recreate it. If you have to draw it multiple times, that's fine. Don't compare yourself to anybody, especially somebody as good as David Finch. He's way ahead of a lot of people because he earned it. Here, David was actually drawing veins. So because I drew with an Prismacolor Ebony Jet Black, it's really hard to erase it. So that's why I pulled my electric eraser, and it actually removed a decent amount for me to be able to work with to create those very stylized graphical veins. Yeah, I even made a note because I can't even tell. I mean, if you look at David's video, you'll see like he actually did a good job. But in my drawing, it was so bad that I actually had to make a note for myself that if I ever look back, it's like, oh, I was trying to draw veins. One thing you'll notice the more you study hands is that it's full of natural curves and patterns. So if, for example, if David's just drawing a hand for, freestyle and it makes sense, you don't necessarily have to do that. The way you could do is try to copy him, but also try to see where these natural arcs are appearing. And the more you see these arcs in your head, the easier it will be to actually memorize hand drawing or feet drawings or, the face, the body, because you can find rhythm in just about anything in nature. And here's another really ugly drawing. Sometimes you'll see that, like in this case, I'm actually creating a whole block. The reason I do that is so that I don't end up, if I'm just drawing that thumb, I'm going to have trouble telling how far I'm going to draw that hand into the paper. It's good practice to actually block out a section and then try to use that section, of course, measuring, how, like, use your judgment, how big do you think that hand should be, like that thumb compared to that palm, compared to those fingers. And it's not necessarily going to work out perfectly, and that's fine. I mean, the idea is to just, do your best. If it doesn't work out, remeasure, redraw, erase, and repeat, I guess. Yes, and repeat. On to the next. Oh yeah, I remember this one. This one was just brutal. All right, so while I'm drawing another hand, I'll take this moment and to mention that if you have enjoyed this video so far and you have found it helpful, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button. And the reason I'm asking you to do that is because the more people like this video, the more YouTube is going to push it out so that other people, just like yourself, that might find this video helpful will most likely be able to find it. Yeah, another tip I want to mention is that even though you copy it, even though you did your very best, it still just might not make sense. Move forward, just move on. Your goal isn't to get everything 100% right. Your goal is to just do your best. If you have to take multiple steps, take multiple steps. If you have to use, several different pencils, if you have to erase and go over it, if you have to measure, that's all fine. The whole point of watching a tutorial and following it through is so that you actually learn something from it. Where it really counts is what can you do after you watch these tutorials for yourself on your own. Yeah, see, like some of those lines I'm putting near his palm, it just didn't make sense to me. But again, I saw David doing it and I'm like, all right, because this is his tutorial and because I'm trying to learn from him, I'm still gonna put those lines down. Maybe later on when I look back at that video or my drawings, and it's gonna click in like, oh, I see what he was trying to do. It's a stylized version of so and so, maybe. Another thing you'll notice is that I draw with my left hand, but I measure with my right hand. So I guess the annoying thing is sometimes I get in the way of the camera, so I apologize, or I should say my arm apologizes. Har har. Later on, I'm actually going to watch other artists and copy their work as well. One comes to mind is Ron Lemon, or it doesn't even have to be a tutorial. It could be artwork that you really appreciate, you know, I really like the way the hands were sketched in the Disney Tarzan film. I love Michelangelo, anything pretty much. So I might look at some of Michelangelo's drawings, sculpture, but again, I don't want to do something that's too advanced when I hardly can put, you know, a few lines, lines down for it to be convincing that it's actually a hand. So that's why I would recommend starting with tutorials where it's specifically about learning that subject, and preferably easy tutorials, because it'll be easier for you to digest. And because of that, your confidence will go up that, hey, look, I actually achieved something ugly, but I still did it, right? So when you do that, then you go into something that's a little bit more advanced. It's going to be harder to get discouraged. Yeah, for me, doing the whole 2 steps of doing an underdrawing and then going over it with an ebony pencil, it worked. I don't mean the drawings worked. I meant like the process was working for me. You know, it helped me achieve these somewhat readable drawings. That's pretty much it for this video. Thanks again for tuning in. Go draw some hands, check out David Finch's video, and I'll see you on the next one.